Welcome to a new video in my home automation series, and I have a new smoke detector on my desk, and this one came from Sensereo. I hope I pronounced it right. And this is not the first Matter compatible smoke detector, but this is the first one which actually uses thread. And interestingly, amongst all the devices that I reviewed, all the Matter devices that I reviewed recently, which, there has been quite a lot, this is the first one which actually uses thread. And not Wi-Fi. So most of the devices, they still use Wi-Fi, they communicate over Wi-Fi, but this one communicates over thread. So this is more like a Zigbee type of radio sensor. Thread is a very similar technology or protocol. And I was also wondering, like, why was that I'm mostly getting Wi-Fi enabled? I know that there are a lot of thread devices on the market as well, but I was always getting Wi-Fi ones. I was thinking maybe because if the company was using Wi-Fi like Tuya in the past, it's a familiar technology, maybe the tool chain is similar, and this is why most of the devices that I've seen are Wi-Fi based. But it shouldn't really matter, because as long as we care, and in terms of the user experience, you find the Matter code, you scan the Matter code, and then it authenticates the device and commissions the device. So you don't really see any difference whether something is Wi-Fi or whether something is thread. Probably the only difference is that if a device is Matter over Wi-Fi, then it relies on your Wi-Fi network. So if you have a really good Wi-Fi network, then obviously it's going to work everywhere. Like if you have many access points and you have like a mesh network. But on the other hand, if you have like a really small Wi-Fi network, then maybe it's better to use thread, because that's not going to rely on the Wi-Fi. But then it needs a couple of thread devices to build up that thread mesh network. Because if this device happens to be really far away from your thread base or border router, then obviously it's not going to reach. But thread is also a mesh network, so having one device closer to the border router would extend the thread network over to other devices. Very similar how Zigbee does it. So with this much introduction about Matter and thread, let me focus on the device that we are going to review. First of all, I do like this box, so I think I have to give credit where credit is due, because that's really funny, and it is definitely annoying. I'm not sure, I'm tempted to press on the test button, but I might not do it in this video. So it is a smoke detector, so it's going to detect smoke. It's going to sit as a device in your Matter compatible smart home network. I only have Google Home, so I'm going to test this with Google Home. So we will see how it looks like and behaves in Google Home. But basically, it will be able to provide a couple of triggers, and then you can create automations for those triggers, like what happens if smoke is detected, whether it's going to send you a notification or it's going to turn some devices on and off. Like maybe it's going to turn off the devices that you think are probably responsible for generating a smoke. And also it will send you, it can send you a notification like if a test is performed or if the battery is running low. But other than that, it's just a sensor. It is designed to behave its duty, and it's not really going to do anything fancy other than that. But, detecting smoke and giving alarms is an important thing. So we should not dismiss that. On the device, you get this nice box with this, funny thing on the top which you slide on, and that's how you can open the package. So again, this is the Sensereo MS-1 thread compatible smoke detector. I've already unpacked it, and you can see everything that comes in a box. The only thing which I left in is a couple of screws and wall plugs. So you get the smoke sensor, which is this big white box, and then you also get a manual and also get a mounting template. So you can screw this mounting template on a wall, and as you can see, it has these tabs. So you put the smoke sensor in, and then you rotate, and that's how you keep this in place and then lock it onto the mounting plate. So it is very easy to use. And the manual, I have to say, it's a very extensive and very comprehensive manual, because as you can see, it contains these many pages, and if you turn it over, then it contains these many things, and this is all in a single language. So as opposed to most of the products that I see nowadays, where it's printed with absolutely small letters, and a leaflet smaller than this contains like 5 languages. It is a single language. It definitely worth to read this through, especially for this section here, which talks about how not to install a smoke sensor. And to be honest, I'm not really an expert when it comes to smoke sensors, but it really makes sense that, you know, not to make the mistakes that they are, you know, highlighting here. For example, you don't want to install the smoke sensor in an area which is ventilated, so the smoke cannot settle. In terms of the technology and some of the technical details, this smoke sensor uses a photoelectric method. So older smoke sensors, they usually use like, I think like a cesium radioactive element, and then probably like a detector, and I think the smoke you know, scatters some of these radiation, and that's how it detects the smoke. So this one uses a light, and then again the smoke particles is going to scatter that light, and then the reduction of the light level in the sensor is going to indicate that there is smoke. I have to admit, I'm not really sure which one is the better technology. I think not using a radioactive element makes this unit safer, or make this technology safer, you know, when it comes to, you know, disposing the sensor at the end of its life. But both should be equally reliable in terms of the, you know, detecting the smoke. On this unit, there are 2 batteries inside. So you can see that there is like a sealed battery, which is providing the power for the smoke detector circuitry. And it has a lifespan of 7 years. So at the end of the 7 years, you need to replace this unit, you need to throw this out. And probably that's for the battery, and also for to account for the degradation of the sensor. But there is also like a replaceable battery, which is responsible for the communication. So the device is going to send you a low battery alert when this needs to be replaced, and you can just you know, replace the battery under here. And this uses a CR123A you know, very simple battery that you can just easily purchase and then replace that. It says replace the detector after 7 years of use, and CR123A is the replaceable battery, which is under this matter sticker. And to be honest, that's pretty much it. That's all you need to know. And obviously, whenever you install it, make sure that these vents on the side are not covered, because that's how the smoke gets into the sensor. Otherwise, it won't be able to detect it. Besides that, there is like an on-off switch, and when you place this inside this docking station, there is like this mechanism which, when you twist it in, when you lock it in place, it automatically turns the unit off. And then when you remove it, then it turns the unit it turns the unit on, and when you remove it, it turns the unit off. Besides that, you have a button here which is used for testing, but if there is a smoke alarm, and this that's like the hush or a snooze button, which you know, stops the audio, and it's not going to, you know, beep you any longer. And of course, if the smoke goes away, then the unit resets, and it will, you know, alarm again when smoke is detected at a later point. So as you can see, I have the Google Home running on my phone as well. And adding the device, as I said, was really easy. You find this plus button here on the top, and then you say plus device, and then you can scan the QR code, and then you scan the QR code, which is on the other side of the device. If you don't have this sticker anymore, then there is a similar sticker in the documentation as well. So just make sure that you either keep one of them. Otherwise, it will be difficult to pair this device again in case it's required. And then once you add the device, I mean, you know, adding a thread compatible device is, as I said, is exactly the same process as adding a Wi-Fi compatible Matter device. It's really, you get a couple of screens which says it's, you know, looking for credentials. You wait for 20 seconds and it just gets added. And this is how the device screen looks like. Basically just says that everything is fine with this device. There is no issues. The battery is okay and the hardware is okay. And these 2 unavailable, they don't change. I mean, I guess in some models, maybe they show battery percentage, but here it just says that the battery is okay. There's nothing needs to be worried about. And in the details, you can also see the, you know, the model and the make, and that's pretty much it. But other than that, there is nothing really to be, you know, changed here or to be done. And I said in the beginning, I'm trying to resist the urge to push the test button, but if I push the test button, at least we can see how the screen changes as well. So it's going to be really loud. I did use this very same function before, and actually the screen changed and it was showing that I am testing the device. So let me just test it again. Yeah, so it says safety check. So some of the messages didn't get through, but you know, the device is working. You can definitely hear the sound. But of course, if you are at home, if you are not at home, then you need the application to give you the notifications. Otherwise, you will not get notified. So finally, let me show you all the automation functions, because that's, you know, really what you want to use this device for. I mean, after all, this is a sensor, so you want to set up some automations. So if I create a new automation and the starter is a device, and I look for this device, which I need a little bit of time to find. Yeah, it's here. So it says office smoke alarm. So we have a couple of different options what we can do. So we can create an automation based on the state, and then this is pretty much what we're going to use. So there is a smoke alarm, there is a battery alert, there is testing. I mean, testing is something that we just did a couple of seconds ago. Or we have a hardware fault or end of service. So the last two options, the interconnect smoke and the interconnect CO, those functions or those, you know, states are not supported by this device. So you can set up automations for these top 5 of them. So for example, if you have a smoke alarm, so you have a smoke alarm, and there is an option here in Google or Matter to also have a different smoke level, but again, this device doesn't support smoke levels. So the best is that you don't use this option. You just work on the state. So actually like that. And finally, you have also an option to trigger on the muted status. I'm really scratching my head, but I don't quite really figure out anything why you would use either the muted or the unmuted. So my recommendation is that to always select the express state and then select it, for example, smoke alarm. So this automation is going to trigger if the smoke detector is detecting smoke. And of course, you can put additional conditions as well. So maybe you can have, different logic based on the time or a date, or maybe if there is presence. And then on the action, you can do something about it. So you can create your own notification, which is probably a good thing to do. Or as I said, if you are using this in a room where you know what are the potential devices that are going to create smoke, maybe there is a cooker or something, and that is, let's say, it's connected to a smart socket or some other type of devices that you can turn off, then you can go to the actions and then you can do device. And I don't really have any such thing, but let's say, I don't know, let me just use the pump as an example. It's not really a good example, but you can turn the device off, and yep. And this should be really useful, especially this is a type of device which is operated even when you are not at home, so you can just turn it off, or actually you can have the system to turn it off automatically, and then you can deal with the issue once you get home. So this is how I would use the automations. And again, I'm showing this in Google Home, but the functionality is going to be very similar in HomeKit or in Alexa as well. The screens are somewhat different. You need to press different buttons to find this functionality, but the overall scheme and how you would use it is very similar in all ecosystems. So this pretty much concludes the review of this device. If you are interested in this product, there are going to be purchasing links in the video description below. But that's all for today. Thanks for watching, and hopefully see you in the next one.